Okay, we're about to start the annual furnace service here. We've opened up the front cabinet. This is a medium efficiency 80,000 BTU Goodman. We've also made sure we've turned the gas off and the power is off the unit. Now we're going to open up the union, which will allow us to unbolt the manifold, the gas manifold, and get to the burners here. So let's do that. There'll be a slight gas smell as that little bit of gas escapes, but that usually isn't an issue. Okay. This usually has to be pretty tight. Seal that off. Okay, you can see that's disconnected here. So now we'll begin unbolting this. We'll also unplug the gas valve, which is controlled electrically and should only go in one way. I'm going to mark it just in case. It's the first time I've taken it out, so I know which way it goes. Okay. Okay, now we've got the 4 bolts out here, and you'll see with the gas line disconnected, I can rotate the gas valve out of the way. I don't think I can get it out. We'll just get some wire, tie it up, just so it's out of the way here. Okay, now we've got the manifold tied up here to the piece of conduit to get it out of the way. We have to take out the burner assembly, and that's not difficult. There's just another 4 screws. First, we'll take out a couple important pieces. Over here is the flame sensor. It doesn't allow the gas valve to come on, or remain on rather, unless it senses a flame when it fires. And also here is the electronic ignition, both of which are kind of sensitive, so we don't want to get those banged around. Usually safer to take those out. And there's just a little screw on each of those. I'll disconnect the wire, and there's ways we'll test that I'll measure earlier. So let's get those out of the way. Okay, now we've got the burner cover out of the way. I've left some of the wires connected, others I had to pull. And now we will, we've got the individual burners. There's 4. Which are called in-shot burners. 2 screws each. We're going to pull those out. Look at the backside, probably clean it. I see cobwebs and things in here. And then the heat exchanger lies where they shoot the gas. So we're going to take a peek in there too with a flashlight and a brush and probably vacuum some. So let's get the burners out. We'll take a little closer look at those later. Okay, here's the burners removed. They're just stamped metal with a cast jet fitting at the end that forms the flame. Just to make sure this is clean, it looks pretty good. I'll probably blow it out with air. There's a little dust in there, but there's no corrosion. All these holes are looking pretty clean. This is representative. They're all about this size. Now we're going to take a look inside the heat exchanger tubes themselves. You want to make sure there's no corrosion. If there's any debris, we've got a extended brush here that we can loosen that with and then vacuum it out. And the heat exchanger basically are these tubes, 4 of them that curve back and forth and that end up exiting right here at the vent. The flame shoots inside the tubes and the air circulates on the outside of the tube separate. And that's what heats your house. That makes the makeup air as it flows through from the blower down below. So let's see if we can take a peek in there and see what those look like. Okay, it's a little dark in there, but I've got a little LED light that hopefully will illuminate what we're trying to do here. It's a little difficult to see from this angle, but you can see I'm illuminating the tube. They look pretty good. There's a little debris in there, but there's really not much, and no corrosion, which is the main thing. Now you can only see a portion of it from here. I've got a camera. I can go further if necessary, but given this furnace has only been in service 1 year, I think just giving them quick look, and here's the number one. Can't see in there too far. Maybe in one of the other ones you get a better view here. It's a little tough. There, you can see a little bit. Okay, so let's brush them out and then vacuum. Okay, just for fun, we got the cam out. This is an inexpensive camera for looking. It's got LED lights. Just gonna get a baseline and look up in there a little bit and see what it looks like. As I say, there was no rust or even excessive debris. Let's see if I can make that first curve. Oh, losing our connection here. May have to give it a little pre-bend. Get that in there. I see a little bit. There might be a little bit of corrosion on there. Is that just the seam? It's a little difficult to tell. Maybe a little bit of corrosion on the seam. Very subtle. These are just little tubes. I don't think we're going to get much farther than that. Take a look in this one, see if it looks similar. That is corrosion. I know the video here is kind of on and off. I'm not sure why. Oop, that's why. I don't have this tight enough. Okay. Okay. It's kind of an awkward motion. Looking pretty much the other one. We'll go into the third one just for fun. Get right up. Okay, I mentioned a couple small devices. One is the igniter. This thing glows red hot when it gets the command from the circuit board, and that's what ignites the gas. Sometimes these fail. They don't last forever. They get really hot. They're not on very long. One quick test is to measure the resistance, the DC resistance, using a multimeter, and it should be less than 75 ohms. If it's higher than that, you might consider replacing it. I have a spare. They're like $20–30. Of course, the furnace man would charge you more than that, but on the internet, this guy is measuring 44, and I have a new one. It measured 50. So this one is fine, and obviously you can tell when it's glowing red. You can usually see even through the holes in the cabinet to make sure that it's operating properly. Now the other thing is the sensor here. We have to measure that supposed to draw a very small range of current, and that has to be when the unit is operational. And I've got the meter in series, so that measures microamps, so it takes a very small amount. One thing though is to clean that every service time, because it tends to get oxidized from the flame. Just very gently with some steel wool, which I thought I had here. I'm not finding it at the moment. Let me see if I can find that. Okay. The flame sensor, just very gently. Just clean it. Get some of that oxidation off. Because if this is not sensing the flame, whether due to faultiness or debris, it will not allow the furnace to operate properly. So it's kind of polishing up a little. You don't need it real shiny. I think it's just to get some of the oxidization off, as I said. Okay, that should do it. Okay, just brought these back after blowing them out. As there wasn't much in there. There's a little dust, and the important thing was these were in good shape, the cast metal. So I'm just gonna screw these back in. It's just 2 small sheet metal screws that hold them in position. You want to make sure you get them reasonably level. So get another screw in that one here. There's a little bracket that holds them. It's all stamped sheet metal, so doesn't seem to be a lot of precision here, but it appears to be good enough. So we'll get the rest of those in, and we'll be back. Okay, the InShot burners have been replaced. Now we're going to carefully put the burner cover back on. I think I'll just brush this off. Got a little dust on top of it, not a big deal, but. And this just has, as I mentioned earlier, just 4 little sheet metal screws. And then we'll reconnect the sensors, and we'll get the gas manifold back down. Okay, the burner cover is now in. Now we're going to put the igniter that we previously tested back into place and connect its 2 wires. It operates off 120 volts. In order to get that really hot, it needs that much power, because it isn't on for very long. And it connects to that one. There we go. Usually the connectors are pretty unique. Okay, then we're going to put the flame sensor back in similarly. We'll test that later once we get her operational. Okay, the sensors have all been mounted. We've connected as many wires as we can, except for the flame sensor, which we'll test earlier. Now we're just going to lower the manifold from its storage position. Conveniently rotates around, and this will position the burners. It only can really go in one way, so as long as you get the 4 screws, sheet metal screws again, in properly, we'll have our gas distribution InShot burners in. So 2 different sizes sheet metal screws here. Okay, I'll finish those screws up and we'll be back. Okay, the manifold secured by these 4 screws, and we're going to put the gas valve electrical connector back in. Okay, and we're in pretty good shape. We're going to reconnect the gas. Just get that in position there. Actually, we're going to let a little gas come out because this pipe is filled with air. And you don't want too much air running through here because the igniter won't respond to air. So I'm going to open the valve, crack it a little bit until I smell or hear gas here, and then close it and then finish tightening this. This will evacuate the air from this pipe, at least to this point. It'll just be a little, so it'll be able to ignite much faster. Okay, always when reestablishing connections, one should check for leaks. So the valve's off, I tighten this up. I'm going to open it up again. And we're just going to take a little soapy water in this paintbrush and put it around on both sides. Any gas bubbles would be apparent. Common low-tech way of testing, and I am not seeing anything. You want to look around all sides. Okay, so I think we're good. We're gonna power up. First, I'm gonna put the meter in on this in series between this orange wire and the temperature sensor, and we'll just measure the current. It should be within a certain range. Tells us when the sensor is getting close to failure, so you can replace it prematurely instead of waiting to that cold night when your furnace won't start. Okay, we've got the DC ammeter in series with the flame sensor here, which means it just goes to the meter and then it goes to the sensor and then back to the control board. The system is powered up. It's giving me the steady red light, which you can see to this hole. I'm going to run up and boost the thermostat and give it a call for heat, and we'll see what happens. Okay, got a call for heat. The induced fan blower is going. The igniter is going in here, you can see it. And the gas, it's probably got some air in this part of the pipe. It takes a little while to ignite. It should come on here hopefully in a second or two. There she goes. Okay. Flame sensor is giving us 0.003 milliamps, which, let me check, is in the good range as I recall. We want it to be 1 to 4. It's 1 to 4 microamps or 0.003 milliamps. So that is that's checking out. We'll just leave that in, and it has to heat up before the main blower goes. Gets the heat exchanger nice and hot before it starts putting air around her. There she goes. She's starting to go up. You can hear it runs at a low speed versus a two-stage furnace. So everything's checking out so far. The other part of this is the combustion analysis, which is a whole nother deal. I put a probe in here with an instrument and measure a whole bunch of things like carbon monoxide in the atmosphere and CO2 and things like that. Well, we'll continue that later. Thanks for staying with me.